Hello and welcome to the 49ers First and 10 podcast. 10 minutes of the most up-to-date 49ers news first thing in the morning. I'm your host, Brianna McDonald, and I'm joined by 49ers team reporter Lindsay Polares. And the San Francisco 49ers have defeated the Green Bay Packers in the divisional round and are officially advancing to the NFC Championship game. But man, was it a close one on Saturday night? The 49ers defeated the Packers 24-21 in a come-from-behind win. Lindsay, talk us through your emotions during this game, as I'm sure a lot of the faithful can relate.
Yeah, it was a fourth quarter thriller, I think is how I wrote it, because that's truly what it was. I know a lot of the fans, you see everything going on Twitter. Emotions were incredibly high during this game because the 49ers got the ball back for their final offensive series, and they were down 4 points with 6 minutes left in that fourth quarter. As we know, the 49ers haven't had a true come from behind win in this 2023 season. So, they were within striking distance. The game, they had plenty of time to make something happen in that final drive, but you just never know in playoff games. And I know that a lot of the emotions were just being poured into those final few minutes of the game. But a lot of things happened that obviously went in the 49ers' favor, starting with, that missed field goal by Green Bay, and then just a really nicely orchestrated 12-play, 69-yard drive by Brock Purdy that ended in that Christian McCaffrey touchdown. And then you have, Dre's second interception of the game to seal the win. And it was just, you went in with a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of nervous, and then it just a lot of good things started happening. And I think one of my favorite clips that I saw coming out of this divisional round game was Nick Bosa just taking a moment on the field, and he dropped his knees, and it was just kind of this sigh of relief. And I do think that pretty much reflects the emotions of the entire fan base.
Seriously. But now, with all the emotions to the side, what were some of your biggest takeaways from Saturday's game? Just what did you learn about this team in their first playoff contest?
Yeah, so I thought it was really interesting, and I mentioned this earlier, is that the 49ers had not had a true grimy come from behind win this year. And for this to come in the playoffs is a really big deal because you were playing one of the arguably hottest teams in football in the Green Bay Packers. And I know that they were the seventh seed, but Jordan Love was on fire coming into this game. They had a really tremendously talented running back in Aaron Jones, and, a defense that did really, really well against the Dallas Cowboys in the wild card round, and had the 49ers in an interesting position going into that fourth quarter. So to be able to make those really big plays in those final 6 minutes of the game was absolutely huge. It's something to build on for these 49ers. And now they have that. So it's just one more tool that they have moving forward, that they know they can gut out these very tight fourth quarter thrillers. Obviously everyone enjoys, hearty leads and, making sure, that you've got, a lot of padding as you're going into that fourth quarter, but in the playoffs, that's absolutely not a guarantee. So to know that your team is equipped to do that is a really, really big thing headed into the NFC Championship.
Definitely. We were kept on the edge of our seats, but I saw you and many others call this one the Dre Greenlaw game. He was questionable heading into this contest, but he made a huge impact on the game with his two interceptions and sealing the game for San Francisco right at the end. But the way he went about that final play definitely got some buzz. Can you explain sort of what was going through his head right after that second interception?
Yeah, so unbeknownst to us, the general public, I do believe there was a conversation between Dre Greenlaw and his fellow linebacker partner in crime, Fred Warner, about getting a pick six in this game. And while I think everyone loves the lofty goals, I do think head coach Kyle Shanahan and some of the players would have loved Dre to just catch the interception and then, go down. But I think he was still looking for that pick six because he did attempt to return the ball. He didn't get very far. I do think Yes, he ran the clock out a little bit, but I do think he had a lot of people's hearts racing, but that's okay. It ended up working out in the 49ers' favor. And, it's so impressive. He actually, with that second interception, became the first NFL player to have two interceptions in a playoff game since January of 1995. So it's been almost 30 years since someone has had two picks in a playoff game. A really, really huge effort by Dre Greenlaw and really helped secure that divisional round win over the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, it was just a sigh of relief as soon as that play was over. But this is an amazing accomplishment for the team. The 49ers have advanced to the conference championship game in 3 consecutive seasons for the 4th time in franchise history. What makes this team so special? How does their recent success speak to the standard that's been set in the Bay?
Yeah, it's three straight, and they're in the NFC Championship for the fourth time in 5 seasons. So this is a team that is used to getting this far in the playoffs. And I think it absolutely just speaks to not just the culture, but also the draft process of the 49ers and also their really big commitment to bringing guys in the building and making sure they continue to develop them as top notch, all pro. Pro Bowl caliber players. One thing that I did see that I thought was so interesting is that of the starting offense, of the players drafted by the 49ers, only one of those players, which is Brandon Ayuk, was a first round draft pick. Christian McCaffrey also, but he was obviously a trade. So it just speaks to the talent that they cultivate in the building, right? So you've got players like Brock Purdy, who was not just a 7th round draft pick, but the final pick of the draft in 2022, and he's your franchise QB, your starting quarterback. It's just, I can't say enough good things about just the coaching staff, the front office. Everything has come together to continue to relock and reload every season, because you certainly don't get to the NFC Championship in 4 out of the last 5 seasons without doing so.
Yep. Well, Faithful, listen in as head coach Kyle Shanahan shares his takeaway from the 49ers divisional round win.
We still found a way to win, which I'm very proud of the guys in there. I thought that was as big of a mental challenge and just a character game as any game I've been a part of. I mean, when things aren't going how you want on offense, defense, special teams, the rain, guys slipping a lot, losing Debo early, having to change some things with that, and just some of the mistakes we made to overcome. Like, it was a gut check for everybody, and couldn't be more proud of the people in there and just how they persevere.
After watching the rest of the NFL schedule yesterday on Sunday, we now know our opponent for the conference title. The Detroit Lions will be heading to the Bay following their 31-23 victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday afternoon. Kickoff for the NFC Championship game is set for 3:30 p.m. Pacific time and will be aired on Fox. But this is a 14-5 team coming into Levi's Stadium. What have you seen from the Lions so far this season? What are your initial thoughts on the matchup?
You can't help but you look at Detroit's story, and it's a very, very cool one. This is their first appearance in the NFC Championship game since 1991. I think it's a great matchup. Just my initial thoughts are that this is a very, very gritty team coming into Levi Stadium. The 49ers are certainly going to have their work cut out for them. They've got a couple great running backs in Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Jahmyr Gibbs was just shy of that 1,000-yard rushing mark for the 2023 season. And I think that's something that the 49ers are going to really have to lock down on. In the divisional round game, they allowed Aaron Jones to get over 100 yards on the ground, and that's something that had not happened for the entirety of the 2023 season. So with a couple of really solid running backs coming in, that's something to certainly be on the lookout for. Then you look at Aiden Hutchinson. He's had, he's coming off the edge. And he's had 8 sacks in the past 4 games. Another person to definitely be on the lookout for next weekend. But yeah, I think more than anything, the 49ers are going to be looking for, updates to wide receiver Deebo Samuel. He was really the one significant injury coming out of the 49ers camp, and I'm assuming we will get updates on him later today. So yeah, I think it's going to be a great matchup. I think it's going to be a really tough matchup. I know that it is a very highly anticipated one for both sides. And from what I was just hearing, tickets are sold out for this game already. So I know that it's getting a lot of interest, obviously, around the league. I expect Levi Stadium to be rocking and bumping like it usually is. And I know the faithful are going to show up. Those are things that we can always count on.
Definitely. Well, that will do it for this episode. Thank you, Lindsay, for joining me in this update. Don't forget to follow First and 10 on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Turn on the notifications so you're in the know when we post any breaking news updates. And thank you, Faithful, for tuning in.